And so when you talk about like what you're looking at on chain, you're saying it's like purchases, or even when you look at, what's happening on exchanges and you say lots of withdrawals, you mean that you're seeing activity where money's coming in, but then the Bitcoins are just being held and they're not changing hands. They're not being traded. And there's just basically no movement after their purchase. Is that how
Yeah,
you're?
that's another lens of it. So right now what we can see is there's definite clustering of Bitcoin addresses that are being owned by single people or participants. They could be a holding company, but there's lots of them, and they're popping up and buying Bitcoin and holding large amounts. And then we're also seeing the nature of these participants. We can look into them and classify them as being buy and holders, that they usually coins come in and they don't usually sell, versus the more trader type profile of participant where you see coins come in and they leave. And so you can classify the liquid guys, the trader types, as participants that are liquid, and the participants that tend to be holders, you classify them as illiquid. And then you look for the coin movements between these two types of participants. The net flows of it is more of the coins now being dominated or moving towards the trader guys that are going to sell the tops, or are you seeing these coins start to move towards the participants that are the holding, the ones that are like getting an allocation, they're probably balancing their portfolio for different risks across many asset classes. So we're seeing coins move to these holders.
And then to go back to what we were talking about with the, double pumps and whatever, Adam Draper at Boost VC, he describes this as like Bitcoin moving in these like breathing cycles where it sort of like inhales, I guess, new investors, and then it kind of settles, and then it like takes another breath. But each time in between, kind of the new happy medium is like at a higher level than previously. And I saw you have like a way of kind of breaking down these Bitcoin cycles into stages. So what are the stages, and what stage do you think we're at right now?
Okay, so we obviously there's the bear cycle, which is where there's the long sell off that typically lasts for Bitcoin and crypto as a whole 1 year, and then normally the thing to end the bear cycle is capitulation. You'll see the sudden sharp drop, and that's the absolute bottom, peak fear. It says it's over. This is gone. So then what you see is a sort of flat band where the smart investors come in and they put a floor on the price because they're quietly accumulating. So whenever someone sells down, the investors come in and buy. The accumulators buy, and that stops the price dropping. And you'll see a solid horizontal band in price after this sharp spike downwards. You'll see the price, grab along the bottom with a few waves, and then it sort of breaks out of that, and it breaks out into a early bull phase. And we kind of had that. The capitulation happened in December 2018, and then we had a rather short accumulation compared to the previous cycle. And then by April Fool's Day in 2019, that was when we had this crazy break out of it, and it ran up. And so that was the early bull phase. So I call that the early bull phase. I consider the bull phase into three parts. So the first phase is that breakout, and there's this sort of excitement again. And then that dies down, and we kind of have this phase where it sort of quietens. It goes downwards, sideways, and this is what we call a reaccumulation phase of the market. And in that phase, a different type of investor, not the one that accumulates the bottom, it's the one that sees that we are now in an uptrend, and they come in and buy. And it's in that phase that and at least in the Bitcoin world, where we have very, very good metrics, unlike, stock markets or gold, we've got on-chain analytics to show, the inventory that is sitting on the spot exchanges, the inventory on them, it starts to deplete, and when you see that depletion, it's a good sign that we're in the tail end of the first phase of the bull market. You'll see these buyers start to buy those coins and move them off the exchanges into their wallets, and we had that reaccumulation, which signaled the end of the early stage of the bull market around around the time MicroStrategy bought, around the 22,000, which was only
like in early December.
It was actually December, around the 20,000 mark. Actually, I'm looking at the charts right now. That was where we were starting to end the early bull phase. And what I like to see to define the next phase, which is the main bull run, is after that depletion finishes, and then there's this run where we see a relatively smooth upward climb without any choppiness of going downwards. And you also see the capital flows that are going into Bitcoin start to go vertical. And there's a very strong amount of investor capital coming into Bitcoin.